Well. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa. The Grunge Bible podcast is back. Very nice. My name is Ethan Challoway. I'm joined by Chris Salona as usual. This is episode 189 for November 4th, 2024. Very important day, I guess, in history. Potentially the day before the U.S. presidential election, officially.
Yeah, you can say that again.
And but more importantly, it's just November, Chris. We're that much closer to the holidays, and
that's true.
And I think even more. I think we made it to the other side. We made it through the tunnel. We're on the other side of whatever the last couple months were.
Yeah, I think so. As it relates to us personally, we went through the gauntlet. I feel like I was trying to do out the math, and I think every 2 weeks I was getting on an airplane for the last 4 months of my life. So it feels good. I touched down back home on Halloween evening, just before midnight. And I don't have to get on a plane again for probably at least a couple of months, which is really solid. And November's here. The holidays are coming. As you said, the election is almost here. The unprecedented times that we live in will continue.
Right.
It seems like
the most important election of our lifetime.
Yeah, man.
I'm
tired. I'm tired of the unprecedented. Can we get back to some precedent and just fucking not have to?
Yeah, there's precedent with this one. I want to hear that for now on.
Yeah, it's hey, just so you know, we need to get back to I don't know, some of that's imagine back in the day, going to the ballot box, be all right, now, I mean, where we are now. But have you voted? Do you vote in PA?
Mail-in ballot, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm trusting the
USPS mail call, dude. I love the USPS.
The USPS with this
rain, sleet, or snow. They're out there every day except Sunday.
Yeah. Last election, I went to vote in person, and I got it mixed up, and I was denied at the ballot because I didn't change my license to Alabama, which I still haven't, because I didn't expect this to be a long-term / didn't want it to be.
Right.
And I think that I sat the last one out, believe it or not.
Yeah. Because probably by that point that you went to go vote, it was too late to get something into PA.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I tried, but I did not do my due diligence. It was unprecedented, I guess, in my life to live somewhere else. So either way, right. So we're gonna try. Absolutely. We're gonna try again this time.
Fuck yeah!
But either way, Chris, before we get more into the presidential debate, that's what this episode is going to be about.
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely, we're gonna
political discussion, because we're definitely the most qualified people to talk politics. Obviously,
we're gonna have Drew come in for the second half, and he's gonna be the
gauntlet's gonna be thrown down.
Yeah. No, but Chris, how are you feeling, man? Mental check-in time.
Mental check-in. Yeah, let's do it. Let's Chris, check in here for the.
How are you, brother?
Episode 189. I'm good, man. I had a really, really good visit up in Canada. Spent a couple of weeks up there. As I said, traveled back. Unfortunately, the one negative about my travel, I don't know how it happened, but I lost my water bottle. Everybody's got a water bottle with a bunch of stickers on it.
Everyone's got a water bottle.
Some sentimental value. I was sitting in Newark International Airport, getting my last flight home, and I had enough time for a beer and a Zin. So I went and got a big, airport beer, paid $20 for 24 ounces of beer or whatever. Had that, threw the Zin in, and for some reason, the Zin was putting me on my ass a little bit. So I was oh fuck, I need to go sit down and I'm gonna drink some water before my flight.
The Judas Zin. Sometimes
exactly.
It goes behind your back.
It betrays you for 30 pieces of silver. So I'm sitting there, I'm drinking my water, and it's time to get on the plane. And it's like locking the door when you leave. You do something so many times that you never actually remember doing it. So I put my water bottle back in my backpack thousands of times, millions of times, right? And I get on the plane, and my bag, so I always toe the line with my carry-on bag. It's big, but I'm not paying to check a bag, because I know if I can get it through security, if it's too big, they'll just valet check it or check it for free. I'm not going to pay for it. So I'm walking out of the plane. I'm on a small regional jet, and I go up to the guy when I'm showing him my boarding pass and scanning it. I'm like, hey, can I valet check this? I don't think it'll fit. And he's like, no, it'll fit. I was like, you sure about that? I was like, I know you work for the airline, but I don't think it's gonna fit. And sure enough, you get down there, and 4 of us like our bags don't fit, so we had to like there was like a little storage area like in between the first and second class galley. So we put that in there. And by that point,
it's for the crewmen.
Yeah, exactly. So like I'm kind of helping everybody out
there.
Yeah, like I put my bag in, I grab a couple other people's bags from them. I'm like, I'll put that in for you, and I go back to my seat. Look at my water bottle. Look at my backpack, and my water bottle's not in it. So I'm like, "Fuck!" I was like, I must have left it out when I was drinking to recover from the Judas Zin. Yeah. And I was like, they're not going to let me off the plane, but well, fuck it, like I'll try. Because I was one of the first ones on, and I go up. I'm like, "Excuse me, miss. I think I left my water bottle in like the gate area." I was like, I assume I can't go and look for it, right? Because I'm on the plane, I can't deplane. She's like, no, like you can go and do that. So I was like, all right. Good, so I walk off, and I'm thinking, great, like my water bottle is going to be right there where I sat. I get out there, it's nowhere to be found. So somewhere between Newark and I don't know where it is, but it's a tough loss. But aside from that,
is.
It's hard. You feel all those stickers, all those, all those areas.
So say you find a water bottle with stickers like this, what do you do with it?
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
if you found one in an airport and you go like this is lost, right? Like the odds of somebody making it back to probably a connecting flight area or something, you know what I mean? Like, or just getting sent to lost and found, like, what do you do? Do you repurpose it? Do you give it a new home?
No, I think they throw it out because like if I'm
saying you find it, not.
Oh no, if I'm a civvy out there, I'm not touching anybody else's water bottle with their stickers on it. I mean, that's like sleeping with someone else's wife. Like you just don't do that. I suppose
a lot of people have done
that. Nobody's ever cheated on their wives before. You know what? I'd probably just leave it alone. Right. But then again, like when the airport closes down, they probably I don't know if they have a lost and found or if they probably just throw it out because here's the thing. When the fuck am I going to be back in Newark if there were a lost and found? Like,
that's something you're not going to get it. So like, no, I'm not saying that. This has happened before to me though. I found a water bottle with stickers, like I think on the disc golf course, and I think we posted in the group, but it was it could have been someone coming in, and if you wash the water bottle, if it's a good water bottle and you wash it appropriately, I think that the water bottle has been places like the sleeping bag that we talked about. Yeah. Like it's who knows, like all the lore.
The sticking post for me is if it's got a bunch of stickers on it, because like that's got a story for somebody, and they were intentional about putting those on, and I would feel uncomfortable repurposing that for my own life. Yeah, it's just one of those things, but it is tough because people lose stuff all the time, right? And there's certain airports or like on a disc golf course or out camping, like there's no hope of recovery. Like that person is not going to find that thing again. So I don't really know. I mean, let's
frame it like this. Because you did lose your water bottle.
I did lose my water bottle.
Do you want to see it like just be done? You go to a wasteland, it's done, or it could have new life. Somebody could take that water bottle, and although your stickers are, members of the past, remembering the past that is no longer there, but I don't know. There's a chance of rebirth right there that I think is important.
There
to
is.
Think. Honestly, I would want my water bottle. I want my water bottle to be out there, to be used.
Somebody's out there using it.
Provide me comfort. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I kind of appreciate the notion that I have no way of knowing.
Right.
It's out of my hands now.
We've talked about this.
That's the thing, and I don't really feel strongly one way or the other because I know I have no ability to exercise influence over the situation. So, all I know is that somewhere out there, my water bottle, like he's on his own now. Like I hope I don't know where he is. I hope he's in a trash bin. He could be in the landfill, or he could be in somebody's kitchen counter right now. Who's to say?
So maybe someone really needed a new water bottle.
Exactly. Yeah. So I purchased a new one and I begin anew.
Oh, already?
I need it.
You don't waste time.
No, I don't have any that fulfill that purpose. No, I have no backups because I don't really, and I don't lose stuff really. And I get really pissed when I do.
Just misplaced.
This is like the first thing that I've lost in a really long time. It doesn't really happen to me. And
that's awesome.
It's just, it's unfortunate, but life moves on, and I always start a new sticker collection on my new water bottle. And that water bottle is getting old too, but
we talk about lore a lot here, and
there's a lot of lore behind that.
There's
thing.
There's a lot of lore.
Well, that thing fucking everywhere.
Like T-shirts, obviously from concerts. Sleeping bags, like where it's been in the world. Water bottles, like with stickers on them. Yeah. Like there's things that have stories and sentimental value that I feel like I've been definitely talking about a lot. And there's recently, and this whole past 3 months has been a lot of lore developed. And so as far as where I'm at, how my mental health check in.
Yeah, let's check in.
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Physically tired, and maybe like, I just got back from a wedding. It was in Des Moines, quick trip, 2 days.
Iowa.
As well as like we talked about, just every other weekend, maybe getting on a flight, going somewhere. But although physically maybe tired, there's I've had a lot of really great conversations, some deep conversations, strengthening friendships, new and old.
Sick.
And that's what it's all about, baby. I mean, it really is like special to have those opportunities to take advantage of them. Seen a lot of music. Music has been very important, as it always is in our lives. But I think there's another level of, I think we'll talk about a little bit like the jam bands and the live performances of the world, because we've seen them. And I think something that I'm learning to appreciate even more than I did before is like a live performance. Like it is a timestamp, time and point in life that you cannot, you can re-listen to it, or you can, but it's very individual, and it, like I said, it'll never be something else.
Yeah.
Or something else will never be that. Mm-hmm. Where if you listen to an album, I mean, the song is gonna be the same. It's the same recording every time, which I guess, I don't know. You could say that, I guess, when you listen back to the simple live recording. But anyway, I think we'll get into it. Phil Lesh passed away this past on the 24th. It was right before a show, and we'll probably talk about maybe in This Day in Music will pop up at the end. But there's a quote, and maybe it's not the exact quote from him, but he said, "I've never played the same thing twice." Well, shoot, I don't think I've ever played the same thing once, and I love that. The great awesome. Phil Lesh. Yeah,
that's what it's all about. Yeah, I'm sure we'll chat about that this episode. But yeah, that's like always the next level of appreciating, a certain song or a certain band, is you just seek out the different live performances over the years, and there's always different things about it. The environment impacts it, where the band members are at impacts it. The crowd certainly impacts it. And I know that's a favorite of Pearl Jam fans out there because of how diligent Pearl Jam is with putting out all the bootlegs from their shows.
Totally in.
I love that. I love that there's a lot of bands out there, from big bands to small bands that are meticulous about recording their live sets and making them available. I know there's that Nugs is out there, and there's that's a big thing for a lot of bands, putting their stuff out on Nugs. Pearl Jam did it, in-house for a long time, and it's fun because that's something that I do. If I go to a Pearl Jam show, I've only been to 3, but like I buy the bootleg, I buy the CD just to have, because it's a part of the story, and it's fun to look back on. So I'm looking forward. We'll probably chat about that a little bit once we get into this episode. So this episode, unfortunately, if you were looking forward to 45 minutes of hard-hitting political commentary, we will not be doing that. This episode will kind of be just clearing out the notebook from the last few months of our lives, music related, some shows that we went to, some just different circumstances where music played a part, and we will be getting back into some other stuff, just to take a look at some upcoming episodes that we have, thanks to our pledge that if you join the Patreon, which we'll also get to here in a bit, we will do an episode about whatever you want. So we've got some in the hopper that we have to start working on now that we're both back at home base for a little bit. It sounds like we're going to have some interesting ones coming up, namely Jeff Buckley's album Grace. I'm talking about late 90s post-grunge, kind of that spot before Creed and nu metal, but right after, 94, 95. The Bushes of the world and whatnot, the Sponges of the world, the Seven Mary Threes of the world. We've got a request to do an episode about Hole and Kristen Pfaff, which we can get into. We have not done really anything about that over the years. And we also got an interesting request to do an episode about the 90s style of animation. So you've got your Ren and Stimpies and your Beavises and your Buttheads and your I Stay Aways and your Black Hole Suns and your Primuses, your Kings of the Hill. So that could be a good one to get into. So we've got a lot of interesting stuff coming up. Hopefully it's intriguing to hear us yap about it, but we're able to do this because of the support that we receive on Patreon. And We're not there yet, but I'm really liking where this has been going lately. The people have been mobilized, and we've been able to get that email notification and ring the bell and welcome new Patreon members with a lot of frequency lately, which we haven't been able to do in a while. So, and that stands true here today. We have a new member of the top tier, and they go by the name Abraham is the cutest basset hound ever. And I support this. I endorse this because this individual changed their Patreon photo to a photo of them and Abraham. And assuming that's Abraham, I hope it's not just stolen valor of another basset hound. But
well, Abraham had many sons, Chris.
Exactly, he did.
He could have been the top of the family tree.
It's hard to say. So we reached out. And asked, kind of what's going on, and they replied and said, "Hi, I like the vibe and growing up in the '90s, enjoy the content as well. Mark Lanigan is my all-time favorite, so that's pretty great. And as far as what prompted me to join was that I wanted the Grunge Bible to continue, and I get that everything costs money, so here I am. I love a pragmatist like that.
Yeah, realist.
Time is money. You got to be realistic about that. So welcome aboard. Abraham is the cutest basset hound ever. We hope that you continue to enjoy what we do, and we'll certainly be revisiting some of your favorite topics, and we'll get that requested episode out to you in due time. So really, really fires me up there. And that individual, Abraham is the cutest basset hound ever, joins the following members of the top tier. And they are Kara K, Black Hole Sean, D-Boat, Doug Endy, Down in a Hole, Flat Out Fucked, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Apona, Gochu John, Fuck Soup, Jade Mercado, Jamie Lynn, Keith White, King Buzzo Stole My Hair, The Michael Dooley Project, Millie, Nikki Six, Pile of Punk, Russell, Sherry Matthews, Seattle 4 fanboy from New Jersey, and What the Fuck is Up Denny's. So if you would like to join, because everything does cost money, you know what to do. We've gotten a lot of support lately, but it's going to take more. The deeper we get into this, things get more expensive, and somebody's got to pay, and it might as well be you out there if you're listening. I don't feel like guilting anybody today. I don't feel like threatening to cancel the show necessarily today, although that's always grateful. A possibility.
Today we're using our grateful card.
Yeah, Chris. Exactly.
We are simply grateful to have supporters and have people that want to support us. So if you decide today, we just want to offer up our sincere gratitude. And I want to pose a challenge though, real quick. If this is your first time ever listening to the Grunge Bible podcast, and you can commit to being one of the levels, a Patreon level support at some level, first time, one listen, make the decision, we'll do something really special for you.
I mean, shit, like we'll have you on.
Yeah. And honestly, we'll have you on. Honestly, we can't verify if you're telling the truth or not. So if you just join,
it's up to you to decide.
Yeah. I can't call it for you. So if you're a first time listener, first time supporter, we're going to do something special for you. And we'll figure it out once we talk about it.
Absolutely. So thanks to everybody, everyone else who has joined the Patreon. If you're considering it, I think now could be the time. We're grateful for you. So show us some gratitude, damn it, and give us your money. A couple other housekeeping things. Let's check in on some numbers and metrics.
All right.
Over on Spotify, it's been a while since I looked at these numbers.
Yes.
We've gotten 262 reviews on Spotify, and we're pulling in with a 4.9 stars out of 5 rating. So that's really solid. And then over on iTunes, it's been a while since I've looked at this figure. Last time we had, I think, 65 reviews. We're up to 98. We've got 98 reviews, and we're carrying a 4.8 out of 5 stars. So really solid. Anyone who's rated us less than 5 stars, honestly, if you rate us a 1, I'm okay with that. But if you're coming in at like a 3 or a 4, like, yeah, I don't really know what's up with that.
The lukewarm people of the world.
Exactly. And in addition to the ratings update, it's been a while since I've looked at this page. Way back in August, we had a written review come in on iTunes. So I'm going to read that now. It's a 5-star review, and it says, "Had to express how grateful I am to Chris, Ethan, and Drew for the Grunge Bible podcast. I stumbled upon it about a month ago, and I've already made my way through episode 40. Chris and Ethan's discussions are engaging, and I love the energy and camaraderie they bring to each episode. The conversations and interviews evoke laughter and reflection, transporting me back to the best years, the 90s, while celebrating the music that continues to resonate with me today. Thank you for your dedication and passion. Please keep up the fantastic work." Well, considering you wrote that, I suppose suppose, almost 3 months ago. I hope we're continuing to keep up the good work. You're probably way past episode 40 now. So whenever you get to 189 and listen to this, I hope it puts a smile on your face, whoever wrote this out there. Tara RV26 was the name, the call sign that they used. So thank you for that. That's really good to read.
Yeah, we love reviews, love reading them online. It just gives you, you're right, Chris. I think the camaraderie. I think that is that's the main thing here.
I love camaraderie.
And shout out to Drew, our producer, Drew. Thank you. He is definitely a part of this as well. And I love when he makes it on the shout outs. As it just makes sense.
The real ones never forget about Drew.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Sick.
Okay, that is that spiel. So now we're going to move on to this day in music, as we like to do. So we are talking about October. We're not in October anymore. We are talking about November 4th. I think it's the 80s, the 189. It just made sense that we're talking about October. So 189 seems like it's the last October episode, but really it's the first November episode.
I don't understand what you mean by that, but sure.
But do you get it?
No, maybe. I don't. I neither understand
October
nor get it.
And 8 make sense together, even though October's the 10th
August
month.
is 8. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever.
August is everything after.
Yeah.
Okay. So this day in music, this is an interesting one. 1969, Sean Diddy Combs, P. Diddy, was born. And interesting is he was born in 69. And
clearly a person of very high character who's never done anything wrong.
Yeah, he's been in the news a lot lately, and this is one of those times where we're just going to say birthday.
Yeah,
not happy birthday. We're not saying happy birthday. We're just saying birthday.
Talk about with this next one. Talk about a tale of two births. Also on November 4th, 1969, Matthew McConaughey was born. Very happy birthday to Matthew McConaughey. And two individuals whose current predicament and current goodwill and I guess prosecutorial status could not be more different. So we've got the tale of two here in 69 on November 4th.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
I was gonna say one thing. I'm just gonna pull up the time. So Interstellar came out on November 10th.
Yeah.
Why is this hard for me to find? But it's gonna be back in theaters. It came out in 2014. So the 10 year, it's gonna be back in theaters. I think this Saturday. So that's important. So thank you, Matthew. I love that's a great November 7th. Yeah. So what is that? This Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday.
Right.
Thursday's the 7th.
Re-releases are huge, and I really would love to get back and see that one in theaters. It's been a while since I've seen it, so
you got to take your opportunities to get to the theater sometime. It's been a long time since I've been, and gotta get in. I want to take this next one on this day in 1991. My Bloody Valentine released their album Loveless, which is an absolute powerhouse of a record, one of my favorites of all time, and it's got some interesting trivia about it. So this record, they started recording it in 1989, and it took them until 1991 to complete it. They burned through 19 different studios en route to recording this. And the long-standing rumor as well with this record is that it cost them over $250,000 to make this record, which in today's money is just over $500,000. Accordingly, they say that that price that they had to pay was a large reason as to why the label that they were on at the time ended up going bankrupt later on down the line. So, I mean, talk about that. You burn through 19 studios, you take over 2 years to make an album, and you bankrupt your label. Absolutely incredible. This album, there's I know I've said this quote before when we talked about My Bloody Valentine at some point in the past, but the actor Michael Imperioli, who played Chris Moltisanti on The Sopranos, loves this album, and he commemorated it. Maybe it might have been on the 30th anniversary in 2021, but he posted it. He's like, on this day 30 years ago, and he's like, I haven't recovered since. And what a statement to make, and this one it's really an onslaught onto all of your senses. I think this record's unlike anything I've ever listened to, and it's absolutely incredible. So happy! What would that be? 33rd birthday to Loveless.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow,
I haven't recovered.
I haven't recovered. That's a bold thing to say. It takes a lot of courage.
I mean, that's like running into Grateful Larry and Larry telling us that was a show for all of eternity.
Yes, which it was. That's amazing. In the same vein, and a date that just passed, just November 1st, a couple days ago, we got a new Cure album called "Songs of a Lost World." I want to bring it up because similar time or similar genre, you could say. But this album is a little different. I listened to it on my way home, flying. So I was at a wedding, for my buddy Noah and Hannah, and it was really good plain music. Chris, I don't know if you got to listen to the first two songs, but way different than kind of like how you picture, the Cure, and it was really good. I don't know. Maybe it was because I was just in limbo as it is, but like this had a lot of piano and like just atmospheric type of stuff, and it was pretty good. It was kind of like that Smashing Pumpkins album that came out a few years ago, like YYZ, not the Rush, but like, or whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever that one was.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's a new Cure album out there that some people may fancy. We needed to say it, needed to.
Somebody had to say it.
All right, I can do the last one though too.
Yeah, man.
In 2015, Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton, co-stars on The Voice, officially announced that they are dating. And Gwen had recently separated from her husband, Gavin Rossdale, which everyone knows Gavin's a heartthrob. I don't know how that, we don't know much about it. I don't know much about it, but I don't know how it didn't work out if you get Gavin and Gwen. But are they still together? Right, Blake and Gwen.
Yeah, I think they're married now. Yeah, they might have children together. I'm not sure.
11-year anniversary. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's huge. Making the hard launch. I wonder if they soft launched it. You know how like people nowadays, like they soft launch on the Instagram story, like they'll take a picture of like their table when they're out to eat, and like you see the dude's hands or something, or you catch like an arm, or like there's like a shirt sleeve there. It's
I know that tattoo.
Yeah, you gotta put the tea leaves out there. It's really funny. That happened to me once. Girl that I dated like right after I graduated from college. I was working, and one of my girlfriend at the time, one of her really good friends was interning at the office that I was working at. So like obviously like I don't have like a large quantity of dress shirts and everything to wear, right? So I'd cycle through them at work, and then I went on a date with this girl, and we hadn't quite begun like capital D dating, but we were going on dates, and it led to dating. And this girl soft launched me exactly like that. Picture of the table and like a little sliver of my shirt sleeve. And this friend of hers that was interning in my office swiped up and said, "Is that Chris? I'd recognize that dress shirt anywhere." So the cover was blown.
That's incredible.
Yeah, people. They've got eyes like hawks out there.
Yeah, I think I saw like a Reddit or something where there was like, yeah, it's like I went on 2 dates and I have like 2 date outfits that are like really good, and it's like the girl's impressed, but now we're on the 3rd date, and I think I have to rewear the first one or something like that. Do you think she's gonna be upset?
Yeah, there's a certain point where you can get away with that. Eventually, I don't know if the 3rd date is deep enough into. I mean, you would have to make a hell of an impression the first 2 times to immediately go back. There's a Seinfeld episode about that where like Jerry's going out with this girl and she wears the same dress every time. And
such a Seinfeld.
Yeah, and like Jerry ends up breaking up with her because of it.
Of course. Jerry's love life needs to be studied. I think we all have studied it.
Dude, it's so funny, that show. Like I think especially George, right? Like George is the beleaguered, stocky, bald guy. That dude is fucking pulling women all throughout the show. And there was like somebody did a post-mortem on Seinfeld, and it like they tabulated like the number of people that like each of the 4 dated. I love it. And like Jerry dated like 120 women or something throughout the course of the show, and like George too. Like George is like this like 5'6" like balding guy, and he's pulling these like 5'11" like unbelievably beautiful women, despite being George Costanza, both physically and personality wise.
That's awesome. I'd love to see the final numbers.
The tail of the tape.
That's funny. That was so good. All right. So yeah, this episode, like I said, clearing the notebook, which I really love the idea about it. And you said that it came from a beat writer from the Red Sox.
We're going back to this. It was in 9 seasons.
Oh, we have the stats. In
9 seasons of Seinfeld, Jerry dated 73 different women.
Was each season a year?
It wasn't a full year. Like each season would run like maybe 9 or 10 months. So it was almost a new girlfriend every month.
What was George's? numbers? Did they have the other? Did they have the other cast?
I'm gonna try to find it out so you can. We'll circle back to it.
We'll come back.
Producers' work. Yeah,
it'll keep coming back. So yeah, we're gonna do this thing called Clearing the Notebook, and I like it because the last couple of months have been there's been a lot going on, and as we talk about, and sometimes I don't know. We're recording this Sunday morning, so it's gonna be a quick turnaround for producer Drew, which he's nothing he's unaware to, or this is normal business as usual. So we just have some thoughts and some ideas we're kind of going to go through. I guess it's kind of like a producer's Q&A at times, but I guess I'll start with, so I went to a bachelor party for Noah's wedding, and we just got back, and I've kind of reconnected with a ton of people and also connected with new people, new friendships. But we, at the bachelor party afterwards, one of the guys, Jeff Coover, who'll come up, shout out, I'm going to send this to him, so I hope he's listening. But
hell yeah.
Look at this, Chris. I won the MVP for the bachelor party.
Whoa!
He gave it. So if you're watching on
kidding.
YouTube, he was telling a story about, it was at brunch on Sunday morning, and he said back in one of his bachelor parties they would pick the MVP for each bachelor party. So
I love that concept. I might steal that.
Yeah, it says Lexington Bachelor Party 2024 Party MVP, and I got the official award. It's a major award, and he thought I would lose it before I even got home, and I thought about maybe leaving it in the hotel just to be funny, but I would never do something like that, because this is the type of lore that I live for.
Oh yeah,
this stuff is great, and I'm just glad to be able to be in people's lives, to say sometimes it's at a helping hand, a listening ear, and sometimes it's just entertainment, to the better or worse of my physical health and all that. So. Yeah, it was good, and so Coover he's a big he's a great guy. He's a pole vaulter on the pro scene, and he's a big deadhead. And actually, so we went to Goose last I went to Goose last weekend, and just talking about, say, we'll go into live music right now. I've been really connected with performances and how things, Phil Lesh passed away. So they talked a lot about that at the Goose show. Well, they didn't really talk a lot, but surrounding it, there was a ton of stuff on the internet.
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
important he was. And like I said, never played anything twice the same, and never played anything once the same. And there's something about hearing songs. Like I listened to a few songs that Jerry sang on, because I've been getting a little bit more into the Dead songs that Jerry sang on, and then the Dead and Company having John sing on a Mayor, and the difference in them. And obviously the recordings are very different from the time before and the time now. And it's really, and just renditions of songs. I mean, there's also in the jam community, they do a lot of covers, and hearing songs kind of in different forms is something special to, like when someone takes, there's plenty of examples. Atlantic City, One We Love, like Bruce and the band, or Hurt by 9 Inch Nails and Johnny Cash, and the way when people play other people's songs. And I think it is such it's a beautiful thing. It really is. I think it's special. I love a good cover, and I love paying tribute.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's so many different avenues for one song to take up a different meaning or a different feel, and obviously, you've got covers. You've also got guest musicians coming on, when they join somebody on stage, and they'll play guitar, or they'll harmonize, or they'll trade verses, and then you've got, obviously, as well, when you have a really tenured band, you've got them playing the same song perhaps 20, 30, 40, even 50 years apart, and it's really interesting, and I think a lot of music fans, I know we love to do this, and this is what you've been doing a lot lately. It's so fun to listen to as many different versions of one particular song, whether it be covers, whether it be guests, whether it be, with the passing of time, not even in a way to compare. It's like, oh, I like this one better, like this was the best era, but just to see what the life cycle of that song was like, and how many different places, it's been. It's always fascinating to do. And it's one of the reasons why I like looking up covers too, because you never really know how somebody is going to interpret a particular song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And there's an element to the live shows when you go back and listen that I think is so another point with this concert. I wore, shout out to our friend Brendan Acton, a long standing friend of the pod and the page, and he has a he's in the scene as well, and he does like some merch, some great artwork and poster designs, and he sent us some shirts, and he sent us a Stop Making Sense t-shirt of the Talking Heads, and I wore it. And so the Talking Heads came up at the Greek Theater. Grateful Larry talked about the Talking Heads.
Yes.
And I had wore the shirt, and actually my friend George, who I went and saw the concert with, he was like, "Is that Bacton's work?" And he actually knew, like, we had never talked about it before. He's like, "Dude," he's like, "I need to get like some of his stuff." I think he went and ordered one like right in that moment. I didn't even get to respond because I was going to say like, "He's our buddy. Like, let me talk to him." He's like, "I already ordered one." I was like, "All right."
Yeah.
So we went to the show, and it was a hurricane relief show. So there's a canned food drive. So I traded in 25 cans for a poster, which is awesome. So we went and lined up at 4:30, and I was wearing the shirt, and obviously everybody's talking shows. Phil had just passed away the day before. So people were, the one guy, he'd been to like 150, he was on the tour, he doing something, selling weed, back in the day. There was a lady, and she was just like, she's like, "I love your shirt." Like, she was talking about the Talking Heads back in the day and the album and all this stuff. And I had a ton of conversations about the Talking Heads, which was not on my bingo board. Like, I did not really understand. And they have a documentary, I think it's on HBO. It's called Stop Making Sense. And
they remastered a show, I think a couple of years ago, and they re-released it or something. Is really impressive.
And the Talking Heads, my dad has always been a huge fan of them and liked them. And all of a sudden they've came back and people talk about their influence and whatnot. And I don't know what your, understanding of them are. And you've listened to their songs, but I took the time, I downloaded that Stop Making Sense, a 1984 album, which is, I think, what the show is about. Yeah. Or the documentary. I listened to it on the plane. Now, granted, I was, I had used up all my words in the last 2 days, so I was ready to go mute. I didn't want to interactions with people, I didn't want anything about it. So I was in that twilight zone of like sleeping, flying. The sun was setting, but I downloaded that album and some Goose like live stuff, some Dead, but I just put the album on, and like, if you want to get into a band, like listening to, like hearing them live and like what they do, and there's maybe a little interaction with the crowd, but just like you get to hear the crowd response, you get to hear, and like it really does take you back to that moment in time that, I mean, there's beautiful things with studio albums, but I'm definitely in the live, listening back to live shows, and of course I like going to live shows, but just the idea that it is really a portal to that time and place, and it is one of the bigger bands like of that time, and the way people were talking about them, and like we definitely talk about this all the time. Like the bands were 25, like Lynyrd Skynyrd was 25 when the plane crashed. They were
so young, yeah,
right. And so these, like when 1984, the Talking Heads, they're in their 20s. I'm assuming, right? And it is special, it's just like, oh, I got such a better sense, and I've heard all their hits. I mean, I know them, I know their influence, but all of a sudden I was like, it was another level of appreciation for this band. And Coover, back to Coover. So he's been a Deadhead for like three or 4 years, but he's like, I've probably listened to like hundreds and maybe thousands of hours of live performances. He's like, I don't think I've listened to any studio stuff, and he's like, he wanted to get into Goose. And I was like, a little bit, because I talked about him highly, and that's how this thing goes. And I was gonna tell him where to start, or we kind of talking about like, recommendations. And he's like, when someone asks me where to start, like I don't tell them. I can't tell them where to start. Yeah. Right. He's like, you have to find your own door and walk through it. Yeah. And we started talking about this idea, and I was like, this is so makes so much sense, especially for say jam bands or something like that is vast. Like if you want to listen to the Beatles, I mean, there's just so much to go through, like where to start. Not that we ever want to do that. But like with other bands like the Dead, I mean, there's just so much, like where do you start? And you have to find your own door, like out there. Like, I mean, you can take recommendations, but like it comes to you at the right time. Like you said, the Talking Heads, or there's a few things where you just like, you stumble upon it, you take a chance, and you find your door. And once you walk through, then it starts making sense. And like I put in our notes, like once you walk through the door, then I can tell you about my door.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
that's the thing.
and then we can bond over how we both got into it, and then your experiences, like all of a sudden we speak the same language, but you have to get there first. And there's been plenty of times where I think we've recommended stuff to each other and we're waiting for the other person to listen to it, but like it just, sometimes it doesn't, the timeline's never how we want it, or it has to happen when you're ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. The best ones for me are always when you hear something in the wild, right? And then you something that makes you stop what you're doing and turn to your buddy and be like, well, like, what was that? What is that? And then obviously, like, we're lucky enough now where like you just pull out your phone and you can find out what it is. I mean, that happens to me all the time. And I think the other level of that is, it's one thing to like text somebody a song link and be like, hey, like, I think you'll like this, but like the odds of them listening are not 100%, obviously, depending on when, where, and how you catch them. But like the best ones are like you're all hanging out, and if you're on the aux, you put something on without saying anything, without being like, hey, like, you're gonna fucking love this one, right? But you throw it out there, and then they catch on to it, and then it's always fun, I feel like how it always happens, like you'll hear one song somewhere out there organically and be like, what is this? And you go to you find out the album that was on, and you give that a listen, and then boom, you find yourself in. But it's really funny how it always happens too, where you'll hear something and you'll be super, super intrigued by it, and you start to do the work. And then you just forget about it, right? You forget about it for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and then you come back to it, and like you hear that song again, like stashed away in a playlist or something. So I never got back to doing the work on this and exploring, and like that just happened to me a couple of days ago with a song that I heard in a bar in Boston, I think in August or something, and I was like, wow, I really like this. I added one song to a playlist and never took more time to go into it, and then I heard it on the way to a Halloween party on Friday night, and I was like, oh shit, like, hell yeah. And then everybody's got to get to their door, and then you can share.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a few times I ran a music page or a guy, and he's like, I'm going to do basically 5 bands from every state that should get more play or something like that. And
damn,
or you get those like 5 bands of blah blah blah, and you don't know how it's curated or whatnot, but like every time I see that, I get overwhelmed. I'm like, man, there's so much music out there. Like, I wouldn't mind like checking these guys out, but like, I don't know, sometimes
I don't have time to churn through 5 bands, let alone one band's discography.
Like you have to find it on your own. Like, just find your Delicate Steve, where you're like, you know what, for some reason, like, I'm gonna get into this one, and then
dude,
there's just so much out there, and it really is like it really is something that it can be daunting, right, to like get into it and really, but you just got to be patient, and you'll get there. Another thing we talked about, Chris, was curious of your answer, like, what's a band that is really big that you haven't got there for you, right? What's a band that like is like you just like is really like objectively like people really like them, but you're just like, I'm good?
Oh man, there's a lot of them, and I feel like it always happens that like I'll hear something, and even like in our sphere, like there's people that are, and I've said this before, like that absolutely love the Foo Fighters and are just devour their albums, and I think ostensibly they're one of the bigger rock bands that exist right now. And sure. I like them, but I've never gotten there to the point where I really have the desire to learn everything about them. And I always think back to when we talked with Petey a couple of years ago. I think he was talking about Death Cab, and he was like, that was really like the first band where I started listening to them and I had a desire to go on and learn everything about them.
Yeah.
And, some people, they don't get there with any bands just because that's not what they're after. But, me, like I tend to skew towards, I want to do that with every band that I like, right? I want to learn about, where this person went to high school or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's bigger bands, and there's different rock bands throughout the years that I just like haven't gotten there. Is there one that sticks out for you?
I mean, I said the Beatles.
Yeah,
that's like the obvious answer for us. Like, but again, this when you're talking like historically, like, if we were to try to really get into the Beatles, like, obviously everything's accessible, but like, how do you
do it? Like, how do you do it with them? How do you do it with the Stones? Even as somebody who's done it with Bruce Springsteen, there's so much music
Yeah.
It's hard, you know?
Yeah. And so my dad, we used to play this game when we were younger, when I was younger. Well, we both were younger actually. And like a song would come on the radio and it's like, who can name the song faster?
Yeah.
Song and artist. Obviously he would beat me a lot all the time. And I was like, how do you know all this stuff? And he's like, I lived through it. Like, learning history is different than living through history. Like, especially like the last 10 years, like we can tell you dates and times. I mean, Tom, my coach, he always talks about specific dates of his life and how he was feeling and how he was. And I'm like, how do you have such a memory like that? But the older you get, and music does this, music really timestamp stuff for you, and it allows you to access it in such a way that is beautiful. And I'm like, this is why I've been definitely in on Goose recently, and just bands that are still touring and stuff. And like, I can spend a lot, you can go back in history, but no one is there,
There's no remedy for the feeling that you get when you're there when something's actively happening.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel very compelled to like support what's going on now in the scene in various genres, not just like jam or rock and stuff. Right. But like it's all happening right now.
Yeah,
and it feels like I said, the work is just being there, not necessarily like going back and trying to picture yourself there, even though I have enjoyed times of doing that and like trying to understand, like, man, like if I was there for the Talking Heads, I feel like it would have been such a treat. But then I'm like, okay, well, who's the equivalent of Talking Heads now? Like,
yes.
Don't let me get caught trying to be in that moment. Like, what's happening right now that I can be a part of, that the next Talking Heads, the next Grateful Dead, the next Pearl Jam, and Pearl Jam definitely, like we talked about. I mean, they have that live performance kind of like Easter egg that everybody's trying to go hear certain stuff and like. And we're lucky that they're still running basically, and like all the members are still there, and it's not like these other bands where like you'll never get to see Jerry play. I mean, it's just not possible.
Yeah, it's never too late. If a band is still out there, it's never too late to begin your story with them. And I think with a lot of these legacy bands, it's I think it's something that happens, I think, a lot with Pearl Jam, where it's like, oh yeah, well, like I was there in '93, like, I'm more of a fan than you are, but you can't penalize people for when they were born, and you can't penalize people for maybe not having the means to get to as many shows. And it's just, I don't think like, time spent with a band doesn't make your connection any more superior than anybody else's, because everybody was once first getting into something, and it's fun that that connection can perpetuate itself over the years in so many different ways with so many different people, and it's cool that we're starting to get older and like we're seeing it happen. It's happened with us, but now it's happening with people younger than us, I think, as it relates to, grunge, if you want to talk about that, because we spent a lot of time around it. It's cool to see like there's like, we're 10, 12 years down the road from high school, but like there's high schoolers now who are like getting into it and going through that. And I'm just grateful that, it's continuing to connect with people. But there's always, Talking Heads, the dead, like some of the bands that we're talking about, like they're always going to connect with people because they've been doing that for 30, 40, 50, 60 years,
Yeah, and that's another beautiful thing about music is good music back then. It's still good music, still good lyrics. Like the stuff is recycled to reinvented. Like, people will talk about the lyrics from, James Taylor and like what he would do and like how beautiful it was. And it's like still some of the best music you're going to hear. And I think that is that's incredible. I mean, the musicianship back then was, arguably better. There's just, if it's good, it's good. It'll find its place. It'll find its way into your life. But it is an undertaking. It's so hard, dude. There's so much music. There's so much. And like you said, me and people like you like to get into the weeds of stuff, and you can't do it with everything. It's
not something I can do so casually hard. And it's not something that I can do if I'm up to a certain time constraint. I mean, we've had those moments where like we've committed to reviewing a certain album and we maybe necessarily might not have done the legwork required to do it as best as we could. And then, it's the night before we're going to record. It's like, fuck, like I feel like I'm like studying for a test right now. I got to learn everything about this thing.
And then like 2 days later, after we have that conversation, I feel so much more comfortable. comfortable. I was so much more comfortable talking about it. Yeah. And so we had talked about maybe doing like Grace or some of the bands from the 90s. And I was like, you know what? We've been spending a lot of time in this area. So let's just talk about that because that makes like a lot of sense. And right now it's kind of a macro view of music and its interaction and like seeing how it fits in. And I love it, dude. I was going to bring up also like on Sunday Night Football, dude, they hammered like the Fish and the Dead and the certain stuff for cutouts and whatnot. I love it. I love that there is a space for good music in these
I read an
transitions.
I read an article a couple of weeks ago on The Athletic, which is like the sports journalism thing. And it's the one news outlet that I pay a subscription towards just because it's really, really great reporting. And they have a writer who like he writes about like broadcasting and sports journalism and everything like that. And he interviewed some of the people, I think at CBS and Fox, who were in charge of curating the music for it. And Fox loves to use the Grateful Dead. They've been using them for a number of years now. I remember watching
like all the time.
Yeah, I remember watching the 2020 World Series, watching the pitcher come off the mound and they're playing some of the Dead. And it's just interesting. And I love how intentional they are. They'll play music from, I feel like anytime the Seahawks are on, you're going to get some Alice in Chains, and depending from any particular city, they'll go to bands that originated from there or songs that reference it. It's always so interesting, and little things like that. I mean, we're sitting here on a football Sunday, we're an hour and a half away from kickoff from the first slate of games, and it's fun, and music can play that role. I mean, you're not there to, you're not watching the football game to listen to music, but some of the most exciting moments, it's really, really fun. I remember Super Bowl, I don't remember the number, but the Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl, I think it might have been on, I don't know if it was on NBC or on Fox or whatever, but for a cut scene when they were going to commercial break, they used I Don't Know Anything by Mad Season, and the Grunge Bible DMs fucking blew up. Everyone's like, did you hear that? Did you see that? Like, Lederman sent us a video and I ended up posting it because he caught it and he sent it to us. Yeah. And it's little things like that. It's Leonardo DiCaprio on the couch.
Yeah. And that right there is why attention to detail matters.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can use stock songs, but then no one's going to connect to it. Like, you pay a little bit of rights to have, to be able to play that segment of the song. Or like I said, when Phil passed, they do a really good job. Like if people pass away in music, they use their music a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And I just love it. Like I said, it's the attention to detail. It's just like small things. And like, that's just a good job.
Yeah, man.
And I love it.
Yeah. And you never know the type of music that you're going to get into next. I mean, there have been points in our lives where like Talking Heads or the Dead have been punchlines, and now here we are, or here you are, and I'm sure I might not be far behind you.
Yeah, people flip all the time, and I'm just so glad that we were able to go to a Goose show together a little bit. And I think that kickstarted it. So the show that I saw last week, like I said, it was a 2-setter. And they crushed it. They played a Bon Iver cover that they've done the last couple of years, and it was really solid. I went back and watched another version of it because it happens so fast when you're in a concert, And they played a cover of "Take on Me," which is really, really fun.
That's cool.
They've been doing that, and they also played a cover of "Can't Get You Out of My Head" by Kylie Minogue, I believe, and it was so groovy and electronic. And obviously all the originals were really good. They played the jives and the Rockdales. But what was I going to say? So afterwards, so it was an extreme amount of energy. Like George drove like 8 hours from Lexington, Virginia to get there. And he drove back Sunday. And we got in, and I could feel like, when you have a really exciting thing coming up, like I could feel my heart rate up, and I had to like make sure I didn't go too hard into this concert. I was going to pay the price. But like, man, afterwards, like the energy output was so intense. Apparently Eggy, which we don't know anything about Eggy, but they were the friends of the band that were playing across the street, and everybody was going over there apparently to get a double header. And like,
I love that.
And me and George, like, I think we have to go. And like, we really wanted to, but like, there was just no way. And when we left, and I think I maybe I've told you this story, but not officially. I wanted to do it on the pod. So when we were leaving, we're like, all right, we had our car back at Andrew's place, and we had to Uber there. And we went out front to get a glass of water at the pizza place. So we got some water. We walked out, and there's this guy walking on the street, and he was like, "Hey, is that place open?" And we had just walked out with like a drink in our hand, and I turn around, lights are on, full of people. I'm like, "Yeah, man, it's open." I was like,
"What gave it away, pal?"
He's like, "Oh, it's great." We're like, he's wearing a Fish shirt, and I was like, "Were you at the concert?" I was like, "Did you have a good night?" He's like, "Honestly," I had a really shitty night. We're like, "What?" And he's like, "I took a ton of mushrooms." And he's like, I left my phone, or I left my wallet back at the car in Homewood, and this and that. And it's like, "Where are you guys going?" He's like, "Do you guys want pizza? Like, please don't leave me." He's like, "Can you get me back?" And me and George had called an Uber, but we looked at each other and we knew, we're just like, because we were letting the journey, it's choose your own adventure, these type of things,
big time,
all the time. So we're like, we thought we were going to turn to page 55. But then we decided 33, but now we're going page 77. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're like, all right. So he's like, I'll get you pizza. So he goes in, he's like, just please don't leave. I'm like, all right, just like, I think we were thinking about canceling or not. So we take him, he drives in the Uber with us back. And then we take him to his house where he's staying to get his wallet. And he's like, you guys want to go to Waffle House? And me and George look at each other. And we're like, yeah, let's turn to page 85. We're going to Waffle House. So we go to Waffle House. It's closed. We're like, we can't give up now, And we go to this other place that's supposed to have burgers. We can't get in. It's Halloween weekend too, so we didn't expect it, but it was busy everywhere.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting a taco truck, and the night wasn't as super eventful, but it was really interesting because we had someone. Enter
a cameo appearance.
We had a cameo, and let's just call him Cam, short for cameo. Cam joined in, and he said he had to be in Atlanta in 9 hours to work, which is 3 hours from here. And we're like, "There's no shot."
Yeah, it's not happening.
Make it. Yeah.
I hope he made it.
But he played some music. He's like, he was he wasn't speaking all coherently, but he's like, I do sing in a band. And we're like, really? And so he sent it. Actually, really good stuff. I was this is you? He said he was on The Voice. I don't know. The story kept getting bigger and bigger. He said he was on The Voice.
Blake Shelton and Gwen.
Yeah. And so, he's in Atlanta, and he's, seen all these bands 1,000 times. And it was just a cool interaction. It was a random at the end of it. We were like, all right, we need to get home. So we dropped him off, and he ended up forgetting his Goose shirt in the car, which we didn't realize till the next day. So Cam, if you're listening out there, just find a way and we'll get you that shirt. But you have to put the legwork in, because I don't know how
absolutely.
I did tell him that we had a Grunge Wall podcast and I would tell this story, and he said I had free reign. So if he ends up making it to this episodes and hear this, we'll get him that shirt back.
I hope so. I hope it's not on its own forever. Yeah, man. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Nothing else. It is the size that I wear. So
call it a happy accident.
I will give it life if needed.
That's absolutely amazing. I love that.
Yeah. Anyway, concerts. Sometimes you just got to go, and you just got to go with the wind, and that's what we did. And I don't know. I just felt like telling that story real quick.
Yeah, man. It was a good story. I like that.
Good burgers.
Those are good burgers. As we begin to close up here, I do have to get back to something we talked about earlier. The final results are in.
The notes are in.
Jerry Seinfeld, over the course of 9 seasons, dated 73 women. George Costanza coming in second with a whopping 62 girlfriends. Elaine had 50 boyfriends, and Kramer pulling up the rear with 27 girlfriends, but still prolific output over 9 years. Absolutely incredible stuff from the New York Four.
My friend group, and you could take a friend group from any walk of life, is not even close to those numbers.
No, man.
of a 4-person run.
Talk about chaos. My lifetime numbers, I've had actual girlfriends. I think I've had four or five,
right, which I'm sure that there's a little more, It's
but even if we open that up, I don't think I'm reaching 15 or 20. But hey, that's why that's what New York's all about, man. The Big Apple, the bright lights.
Talk about chaos. If there was 4 people living that closely and always dating and going in and out.
70. There's people out there. I know a couple of people who 73 would probably, they're just addicted to dating.
Yeah. That's not for us.
I've got less destructive addictions than that. That's for sure. Less expensive ones too.
Yeah.
Zin's only $5.
Yeah. Oh yeah. One other thing though, if you're watching on the YouTube, Chris, let's see the shirts. We gotta shout out our. So here we got the Social Act Band. Our good friend John Krenger and Ellis. They sent us some shirts. They played their show. They got a double album coming out.
Oh yeah, it's gonna knock your socks off.
It's gonna knock your socks off. But they played in October, and they're playing again in December. We have an open invite, by the way, Chris. Obviously, we go to a Bears game and check them out.
We got to see the Act, man. The Act is back. We had them on the podcast we released that episode in September of 2022. John and Ellis, and two great guys. Oh man, I love texting back and forth with John, hopping on the phone with him. He's just one of those people that I'm very happy that I know. He's a real one.
Oh yeah, so a couple good shout outs today. I think that, like I said, we're in our grateful stage. I think Chris and Ethan are grateful. That's that's just the way life is right now, and I'm happy to be spending this time with everybody here and be able to kind of have the free will and the reign to talk about just some things that are on our mind. But the notebook is officially cleared. We can move on, and we can begin to formulate, I don't know, more takes.
Well, fill up that notebook again. Well, Ethan, as we close here, I do want to shout out Drew McFadden, our producer, our flapless producer, for crushing it every single week. Then I think all we have left would be songs of the week, right?
Oh yeah. And we can go anywhere with this. I said I've liked a lot of stuff in the past 48 hours, really.
Yeah.
And I think, man, this is
the wild card here.
This is tough, but
it's a toss up. It's too close to call.
So Goose, for their Friday show in Winston-Salem, they played Broke Down Palace and Cold Rain and Snow, which are Dead covers. And I went back and listened to 2 live performances with back in the day, and then also I couldn't find the Goose versions, which is fine yet. And then I listened to the ones that they play with the Dead and Company. So I think I'm gonna put Broke Down Palace live at the Fox Theater, St. Louis, December 10th, 71.
Nice, man. I like that.
Very, very specific.
Very specific. That's what it's all. That's there's specificity is important sometimes.
Yeah. So that is some old Dead coming onto the playlist.
Nice,
Chris,
dude.
what do you have?
My song of the week is going to be that song that I heard when I was driving to the Halloween party that I heard in a Boston bar a few months ago. It's the Bukowski Tavern in Boston, and they spin vinyl. Like they don't listen to the radio, and they got a huge stack of records behind the bar. And
Bukowski, huh?
Yeah, man. There's this one bartender who I've gone there. He's been working maybe 5 or 6 times, and like he always plays shit that's fucking awesome that I've never heard of before. And the Shazam is always pretty active when I'm there, and I usually try to sit near the turntable so I can see the sleeve, see what's being spun. And he played this record by a band called Rainer Maria, and the first song is something called Broke Open Love. And it was just fucking awesome, man. I don't even really know what to call it. It's kind of like Brian Jonestown Massacre, but like also kind of shoegazy. The really, really great vocals. But this particular song, like I was just enthralled by the bass line in it. And it just hums through all the noise. And there's a lot of noise in it, but oh man, it was good. I listened to it, like it came up on this playlist because I added it to my summer playlist because it was summertime when I was up there when I found out what song it was, but then I forgot about it. And I was for some reason I had that one on shuffle driving to my buddy's house on Friday, and I listened to it twice that night. I queued it that night after the party ended. We were sitting around, and I was on the aux and
people
curating the environment, and I did get my buddy, a couple of my buddies, we were sitting there and it was on, and he was like, dude, what is this? And I was like,
you got a conversation out of it.
I'm happy to tell you. Yeah, I'm very happy to tell you. So that's what it's all about. And
tastemakers.
Yeah, man, I'm ready to I'm reinvigorated. I'm glad I remembered this, so I gotta try to get into some Rainer Maria. Really excited about it.
Just added them both to the playlist. I can't wait to listen to that after we're done.
Yeah, man.
Final thing I'll say too. So I was at this wedding, and the DJ's name was Beard Man. He wanted to be called Beard Man, and he was like, you know, big redheaded beard, and I gave him a Yu-Gi-Oh card before the night and said, you know, just to ensure, I was giving out Yu-Gi-Oh cards to everybody, but I gave him a Yu-Gi-Oh card. He actually dropped it, and Dave found it. I gave it to him again and acted like I was doing it for the first time. Just gaslit him. We were just gaslighting everything. Gaslighting is so much fun. Anyway, so it is. It's hilarious. It's so funny. And so during the wedding, 2 songs came on, Chris, that just blew my mind.
Oh yeah.
The first one was Pink Moon by Nick Drake came on.
It came on?
Yes, dude. I went up, I was like, whoa, I was like, Pink Moon. I was like blown away. I was like, did Noah tell you to play this? He's like, no, I just played this. And I was like, I knew Noah didn't know this. You know, I was like, he's like, oh, this is all I listened to, blah, 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 blah. And
that's incredible.
It was so good. I was like, this is so beautiful. And then he played Neutral Milk Hotel, King of Carrot Flowers, which is one of my favorite albums of all time.
That is amazing.
I had to go up and I talked to him again. I was like, dude, this is so like, this is amazing. And then he allowed me to kind of play some songs. It wasn't like Tune Weaver. I didn't play some super obscure stuff. But
right.
I was very happy, and you know, the dancing was solid, and it was a good night.
Nice.
Congratulations to Noah and Hannah.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's perfect.
Yeah, man.
Well, that just about wraps her all up, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That clears the notebook. We're officially done. So thank you, everybody, for listening.
School's out.
As I like to say, you made it to the end of the episode. We made it. Congratulations. Have a great week. Listen to some music, and we'll be back same time, same place next week.
You better believe it. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. Go vote and crack open a beer. I feel like we're going to need it. And yeah, man, stay heavy.
Stay heavy, everybody.
Hanser.
See ya.